Are you thinking of making Melbourne your next home, but worried about how much it's actually going to cost you? Well, you have landed on the right video. From rent to groceries to transportation to lifestyle, I'm going to break it down. How much do you actually need to live comfortably and realistically in Melbourne in 2026? Hi guys, this is Athulya and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we will be discussing the cost of living in Melbourne in 2026. So now, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to start with the part which punches you right in your face, which is the rent and the utilities. Of course, when it comes to the rent, it depends on the locality, whether the place has a car park, whether the place is furnished or not. So there are all of these factors on which the rent is dependent on. So because of that, I'm just going to give you a range and not an absolute value. Now, if you are a single person who is looking to live in a one-bedroom apartment within the city, it's going to cost you somewhere around $2,000 to $3,000 a month. But if it's outside the city in a suburb which is 20-30 minutes away from the city, then you could get around $1,600 to $1,800 a month. Now, we discussed a one-bedroom apartment. What if you want to move in a two-bedroom apartment? A two-bedroom apartment within the city can cost you around $3,000 to $4,000 a month. Now, if you are on a budget and you are happy to live away from the city, then you can actually get a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom house for about $2,500 to $3,500 a month. And of course, you could then consider subletting the additional rooms that you have in your house. So the rent that I discussed does not include your utility bills. When I talk about utility, it is basically the internet, the electricity, gas, and water bills. And of course, this is going to depend on your consumption, your suppliers, and on the season. And trust me, Melbourne winters will make your heater your worst enemy. So of course, by now you know that if you want to get a place in Melbourne CBD area, it's going to be super expensive because you're actually paying for the convenience, for the vibe, and let's be honest, the hype. So my advice, if you are solo or a student and building your life from scratch, is don't go for a bougie apartment. Do not try to impress Instagram. It's best to get a safe suburb near your university and mostly a modest share house sort of a situation, and then try to save as much money as you can because Melbourne is going to give you plenty of ways to spend it. That being said, there are universities which have campuses within the city, and that's when it gets harder. In such situations, I would suggest to share your house, share your room, so you don't need to pay a lot from your pocket just as rent. But if you are on a work visa and you do want to try and explore the city vibe, then of course, get a place in city, experience it for a couple of years, and once you do decide to settle down, that's when you could consider moving into a suburb. Number 2 is groceries and food. Because let's be honest, we cannot starve our way through living in Australia. Groceries for a single person per week is going to cost somewhere around $80 to $130. Now, this depends on your food consumption and what kind of cuisines do you like to make and what kind of food do you actually eat. But roughly around $80 to $130 is what you're going to pay per week. So that adds up to around $350 to $550 a month for groceries. Now, if you like to eat out, it's going to shoot up, of course, right? Now, if you're a person who loves to go for brunches and lunches and things like that, it's going to cost somewhere around $25 to $40 per meal, depending on the place that you've gone to. Similarly, for a dinner, it's going to cost around $25 to $40 again. Now, this is not a very fancy place. This is a decent place. Now, if you do drink, then it's going to add on to that. A regular coffee is going to cost around $4 to $6. And I must say, the city has incredible food, amazing aesthetic cafes. You're not going to miss your Indian food or anything for that matter. You name the cuisine and you get it. And most of them is really good. But if you do have a habit of eating out, it's going to destroy your budget if you're not intentional about it. Bottom line is, if you do want to save money, cooking is a non-negotiable. You need to know how to cook. If you don't know, learn how to cook. Third on my list is transport. Now, one thing which Melbourne is pretty good at is the public transport. The frequency is great, the connectivity is great, and there is a very good tram, train, and bus network. Another amazing part is trams are free within the CBD area. So it's only when you're going outside of CBD that you actually need to tap on your Myki card. Now, depending on which zone or which area you live in, about $100 to $150 is what you would need on your Myki card on a monthly basis. And I must say, public transport is way cheaper than owning a car in Melbourne because, of course, cars have a lot of hidden expenses other than just your petrol and maintenance. So there's also a rego cost, which is going to be around 1,000 to 1,500 depending on the model of the car and the area that you actually live in, which you need to pay every year. So yes, owning a car is going to cost you a lot. So I would suggest, if you're somebody who has just moved, starting new in Melbourne, for the first couple of months or years, you don't really need a car. And especially if you're living in CBD area, you definitely don't need a car. Segment 4 is lifestyle. So one thing that I haven't mentioned yet is your health insurance. So a very good private health insurance is going to cost somewhere around 100 to 130, 140 bucks a month. Now, this depends on what kind of cover you need and what are your specific health requirements. So yes, that definitely is a cost. And most of the visas have the condition that you need to have a health insurance. So that is definitely going to be there. When it comes to the lifestyle cost, I must say Melbourne gets quite sneaky. If you think about the gym membership, then it's going to cost somewhere around $50 to $80 a month, depending on the area and the kind of gym and the facilities that you have. Now, if you do sign up for a group fitness sort of a place, then it's going to cost way more than this. It's going to cost somewhere around $200 to $250 a month. Now, the next one on the list is entertainment, and this depends on your self-control, my friend. I must say, there is a lot to do in Melbourne, whether it's attending concerts, meeting new people, getting into new communities, learning new stuff, getting a new skill, you name it, you have. So it gets way easy to just lose money on your entertainment stuff, which is why I feel it depends on your personal self-control. Now, on an average, realistically, I would say you will easily spend about $150 to $300 a month for the basic coffee catch-ups, drinks, and just existing in that Melbourne vibe. Now, if you're a person who is building your life or working on yourself, going to therapy, doing self-love stuff, it's going to shoot up way more than this. But just on an average, about $150 to $300 is what you could budget for your entertainment stuff. So what exactly is a comfortable budget? Depending on everything that I said, for a normal single person, for a normal life, it's going to cost somewhere around $3,000 to $4,000 a month. But if you are a person who loves to go out, explore, and live well, then it can go up to $4,500 as well. If you are extravagant, it's going to go way more than that. But yes, this is a realistic, comfortable lifestyle budget that you will need to live in Melbourne. Am I saying that you cannot live under 3,000? No, I'm not saying that. It's just that you're definitely going to feel the pressure. Now, if you are an international student with a tight budget, you could consider living in a shared accommodation outside the city. But if your university is in the city, then maybe sharing your room, so your rent is under $1,000. Your health insurance and utility bills are going to add up to around $200 to $250. Your groceries would be around $250 to $350. And of course, if you keep a $300 to $400 as your miscellaneous expenses, then the total is way under $2,000. So yes, you can live under $2,000 as well, but then you might not be able to experience the vibe of the city as much. But yes, you can survive under $2,000 as well. All right, so now we are in the last segment of this video. Let's talk about earning, because cost of living advice makes no sense and is completely useless without the income context, right? So to live comfortably as a single person in Melbourne, you'll need around $75,000 to $85,000 a year as your income. And of course, the higher is obviously better. If you do have a share house or you have a partner, you can survive with a little less as well, given the other person is also contributing to the expenses. Now, if you are solo, building a new life, you want freedom, safety, and options, then this is your sweet spot, which is $75,000 to $85,000 a year. Now, if you are moving to Melbourne in your 20s as an immigrant or as someone who is starting over, then my advice to you would be do not overspend on your rent. Do not try to eat out a lot just because the cafes look way too aesthetic. Do not rush into buying a car. And definitely don't try to match other people's lifestyle. Another thing that you could actually do is to create a budget for you and try to stick to that budget for the initial 3 to 6 months. Melbourne is beautiful, diverse, fun, and inspiring, but only if you manage your finances properly. Otherwise, it is a city which can actually chew you up and spit you out. Let me know in the comments below how much do you spend a month living in Melbourne. If you want more immigrant life content, honest advice, and my Melbourne experience, hit that subscribe button and comment your questions. And if you want a comparison video, which is living in Melbourne versus living in Perth, tell me below and I'm going to do that next. Thank you so much for watching. This is me, Athulya Nair, signing off. Ciao!